Legal. We're here every Thursday night, 6 p.m. on 103.9 LI News Radio. My firm name, Macedonio and Duncan. We're located at 126 Carlton Avenue, Islip Terrace, 631-582-3232. And as usual, I'm here with my co-host, Link.
You know how we do, man. If you want to stay free, call BOB. Welcome back to all our listeners and our viewers.
Yeah, we appreciate everybody listening. I know Thursday night's a little boring drive home, 6 to 7, but we're gonna try to lighten it up a little bit and add a little flame to the ride.
Right.
Recent in the news, you see Kanye West and Candace Owens went over at the fashion show over in Europe, and they walked in with one had a white shirt on with White Lives Matter written in black, and the other one had the black shirt on.
They inverted the colors.
Yeah, so it created such a big controversy. Why? Why
you took two very controversial people, right? Like, I don't know if you remember the thing with T.I. and Candace Owens, how they got into it 3 years ago at that same summit. But you take two people who are controversial, who aren't locked into any kind of way of thinking. Like, Candace is a free thinker, which is why she's such a controversial person. Like, even in politics,
are they controversial because they're not fitting the mold that the black community wants? Because Kanye was friends with Trump,
right?
Candace Owens, conservative,
Republican, right?
On a talk show. So they're not fitting the mold. So that's why they're controversial, because they're criticized because they don't fit that democratic mold of what a black person's supposed to do.
Right. And I used to think I understood what the role of a black person was. Like almost like that keeping it real effect, but. Most of the people I see like that's in that situation, like locked into that one way of thinking, don't do as well as Kanye West and Candace Owens. Now, I'm not saying material reasons is enough reasons, like switch up from what everybody else is doing. But if you see what everybody else is doing is not working, it don't make sense for you to follow that mode. I think what Kanye doing is the irony. Is the irony. Again, it's
the irony. Like
I just Googled it, right? What happened just now?
Googled.
Yeah, I Googled White Lives Matter and Kanye West came up.
Number one
search.
Like,
just the irony of that. That's like, I can't even imagine any other way in the world or any other person in the world who could have done it that way to flip it. Like, if you Google that, he comes up. That's crazy. Why is it such a controversy to say White Lives Matter? My opinion on that, my thoughts on that is that, one, it's already like a known fact, right? Like, it's like a whole known fact. It's something that doesn't ever have to be stated to be known, right?
That's not true. I really don't. I don't believe that. I just don't think that. You'd
have to give me a reason why you would think that's not true.
Because you're not taking into account all the lower middle class, poor white folks who believe their lives don't matter. They're suffering. That's a mental conditioning versus the way versus a societal imposition. Like, society imposes on black people that their lives don't matter, right? It's forced on you every day. Now, to say White Lives Matter because it's so known, it's offensive, but to me, and because I guess I'm a free thinker, I'm so not offended by it because I love the irony of it. Like, think about this. Even like, would you go buy a White Lives Matter shirt? No.
What, you think it's insensitive?
I just, maybe because of my position, I don't want to offend anybody, and I think all lives matter.
Right.
Okay. Right. You take children, 2, 3, 4 years old. You put them in nursery school. Those kids will never identify color. The black kid will play with the white kid, will play with the Spanish kid in nursery school. Right. So at some point in time, where does racism come in? It comes in somewhere.
It comes because those children, know it's a taught thing. We know that that's a taught thing because, like, again,
those kids at that age, they don't see color.
No, I don't know. I grew up down south. For about 4 years, I was down there. One of my best friends' name was BJ. He was a complete white kid. Not that I didn't notice it. Not that I didn't notice that we were different. I just didn't notice that, like, some people classified him as a person and me not. I didn't know that. So I was different. So one day we had gone to BJ's house and we had tracked some mud in his house because we used to have like this little plastic pools in the backyard. We had those, and we didn't have a lot of grass. So when we ran into BJ's house, we tracked mud that was on our feet into the house with us. So
his mother gave you both a beating?
Nah, she made us sandwiches and sat us at the table. But his dad came home, and he was like, his name was Benny. This big BJ. That's why BJ was little BJ was Benny Jr. And he was like, Sharon, what I told you about having these, the N-word, in this house, I was not familiar with that word. I didn't even know what it meant. You didn't know what it meant? No, so I immediately started looking for it, not even knowing what I'm looking for. So I pushed my chair back on the table, and I'm like, oh, and I'm looking at Sharon, I'm kind of mad, like, why you even have those in here if he told you not to have it in there? You know how Benny is when you get home from work.
Yeah.
No idea he's referring to me, right? So when I went home and I told my mom what happened, you know, she sat me down. She sat me down and was like, you don't even know what took place. I'm like, nah. And she was like, what you was looking for was what he was calling you.
Yeah, but
that was crazy.
Get back to the White Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. Sure. Children, like we just said, nursery school,
right? They
don't identify color. They don't identify any kind of racism. And we're all taught, be proud of who you are.
Right.
No matter what you are, be proud of who you are. Whether
right.
Black, white, Spanish, gay, straight, you know, whatever you may be proud of who you are. So now you're taking this and saying, I'm, as a white male, can't be proud of who I am?
I think I would love to see a white man or a white woman with a White Lives Matter shirt on. I would love to see it. I just like
But that's going to incite violence. That's going to incite, you know, negativity. That's going to incite, you know, racism claims. That's going to incite stuff.
I think anybody with a let's say Black Lives Matter, right? The movement, the wardrobe itself, the shirts, whatever you want to call it. If you're allowed to express yourself one way, you got to be allowed to express yourself the other way, right? Now, I know the pain that it causes to see somebody with a White Lives Matter shirt on, but it's only because of the importance that people are putting on it.
Does it cause you any pain to see that shirt?
Not at all. I find it very fascinating. I find this whole thing that Kanye's doing very fascinating. I know people probably think he's experiencing some mental break because as someone who is a free thinker, he's not confined to the same thought patterns or conclusions that we come to. He's going to come to his complete. That's why he's living the way he's living, because
he's gotten to the point than we did. So independently wealthy. He's so successful. He's got to what you call the FU money. He's gotten to the point where he's going to be artistic. He's going to be government money. Mind. He's going to do what he's got to do. That's what he's got to do.
And you know, they kicking him off Twitter, they kicking him off social media, Instagram. You know, he's making
claim Diddy controlled by the Jews.
Anti-Semitic statements about Jews, and they got Diddy by the cojones.
They're close there.
So it's crazy. But what I wanted to get into, Kanye, man, shout out to you. Much more success in your journey, man. I see what you're doing, even though I know it's going to offend a lot of people. They're going to be butthurt about it. That's on them. They're going to have to learn how to deal with it.
But they're still going to buy those Yeezys.
They're going to buy those Yeezys. You're going to get those. And so, we're going to tackle a bit of a sensitive subject today.
Yeah, we just wanted to bring up the Kanye thing because, it's present news and thrown off Twitter, thrown off Facebook, or suspended. I don't want to say thrown off.
And y'all could call up.
They almost called him a bigger racist as Trump.
Who?
Kanye, yeah.
Wow. That's a big one.
Yeah, because,
that's a big one. You say,
but I did read with the Black Lives Matter shirts.
You think Trump is a racist though?
No.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
That's not where I'm at with it.
The media painted him with that because it fits the
he denounced that like so many different times. But this is going to be a show about domestic violence, and if you've been a victim of domestic violence, somebody going through it, and you want to call, have a conversation with us about it, you can call up today. That's 631-451-1039. 631-451-1039. Again, this show is going to be about domestic violence and the psychological effects on the victim as well as the family. The victim, the family, the communities, how it impacts, everybody, and, how it breaks down, racially different communities and minorities and the white neighborhoods. So we're going to, I know it's a little bit sensitive topic, but we want to get into the Kanye and the Black Lives Matter. I can go on with that forever. I can go on with that forever. You're lucky we got a topic that we got to discuss already, but I think that. But I'll put it out there. To me, all lives matter. I don't care what you are. Everybody's lives matter. Everybody's important. Everybody should, be proud of who they are and where they come from. All lives matter. But there was only one life on the planet that's constantly been on trial, and those are Black lives. So if you can't see what Kanye is doing, and you're just offended as a Black person, I feel sorry for you. You say on the planet. You say on the planet. I think you're limited to the United States had the issues of slavery and all the racism that got in. The United States is not limited to that. Slavery happened across the world. But not only with Black people. White people were slave too. Not in the times that Black was. Before Blacks. And not for as long. Before Blacks. Not for as long. We can argue about that all day. I'm going to win. Anyway. This is Street Legal. We'll take a short break. We're back. We're here every Thursday night, 103.9 LI News Radio. And again, I'm Bob Macedonio. And my firm, Macedonio & Duncan, 126 Carlton Avenue, Islip Terrace, 631-582-3232. We'll see you in a few short minutes. Thank you. All right. If you want to stay free, call B.O.B. This is
Bob Macedonio. We're back. We're here with Street Legal every Thursday night, 6 p.m., 103.9 LI News Radio, and Macedonio Duncan, 126 Carlton Avenue, Islip Terrace, 631-582-3232. And I'm back here with my co-host, Link. And like we said on the last segment, we're going to touch a little bit on domestic violence, the problems it has in the communities, it affects the families, and, see, what we need to do, what we can do to start addressing some of these issues.
Yeah. I think domestic violence begins with, again, that angry, out of control individual who is made that way. I think people who are going to be aggressors, they show signs of that very early.
Let me give a definition of domestic violence.
Right.
Domestic violence occurs when a partner uses physical violence as well as tactics like emotional abuse, verbal abuse, and financial abuse to maintain control of their partner.
Right. And that's what it is. Partner. It is. It's a control thing. That is a control thing. I've seen people who lashed out in just pure anger, but those aren't people who constant abusers. Those are people who just blew their top.
Yeah, listen, anybody can blow the top. It doesn't need to lead to physical violence, though.
Right. But I've seen it. I've seen it go to that, and I've been angry enough to do it myself. So I can't, let he who lives without sin cast the first stone. But I realized in those moments that it would be a complete and total rage and losslessness of myself. You know what I mean? Almost can't identify with the person inside of you who would be able to do that. You know what I mean? So, but I know that my case is not like what I'm seeing from abusive people, which is completely different, right? Where you're saying they use words, money,
emotional, verbal,
everything they can to try and control a person and keep them from being able to leave. So they constantly dealing with
keep that person from who they really are.
So you have for everybody who don't know what domestic violence is broken down, it is the assault part of it is to hit, punch, kick, throw things at, or use a weapon against. The stalking part is to follow, monitor, or track. The harassment part is to repeatedly do something to cause alarm or distress to the person that you're doing this thing to.
Well, there are a bunch of factors that increase the risk of domestic violence, which includes experience with discrimination, economic insecurity, pregnancy, and we had talked about on a couple of other shows about how the minority communities are affected by all these things. Like if you have a stress in housing, you have a stress in jobs, you have a stress in mom or dad going away to be incarcerated, constantly appearing in court. That's going to increase your stress levels,
anxiety. Everything's going to increase with that.
So when there is a situation that involves in relationship, your anxiety or stress level is already at the max because you're dealing with all those outside factors.
Right.
That's going to lead, to the verbal, emotional, physical, unfortunately, the physical abuse. And that's why the incidence of domestic violence are higher in the minority communities.
Yeah, you have a lot more anger, a lot of more uncontrolled and unmonitored men, right? Let's say you get up, you put on your suit and tie, you go to work every day, right? For the people that hit the block, it's not the same format or the same schedule. So it's not the same monitoring system. Like you're in a court building, right? Or you're in the courtroom or whatever you're doing. You're constantly either conference with your client, a DA, something. So your behavior is constantly monitored. Not that you need it, but you're always in an environment where it's monitored. Whereas, in neighborhoods, it's not really like that. You know what I mean? Like you outside most of the day, you're not monitored in any kind of way. If anybody see you flip out, it's okay because they flip out too. So it's a normalized thing. But I don't think that domestic violence where I'm from is so normal because a dude is still, if he catch you putting your hands on the girl where I'm from, he's going to try to take your head off. They don't play that.
I think behind closed doors, that same dude that's going to do that that experience all these outside factors, outside stress, is inflicting some kind of domestic violence on his partner.
It can be. I don't know how often it happens, but I know that there are women who live in constant fear and they are actually in danger.
One study found Black women who were living with their partner were 6 times more likely to experience severe domestic violence than dating or married counterparts. So just living with them 6 times more likely.
I don't know.
And then another severely battered Black women were more likely to have lower socioeconomic backgrounds as well. So the poverty level also increases the level of domestic violence.
Yeah, because less chance of escape from it, right? I think having money limited to you also limits everything else, like your movement, how far you can go away from those things that are dangerous, which is why you always hear people say, I'm just trying to get out the hood. right? Like that's the people thing. Like that's like a thing. Now, I love the hood, but everybody talking about I'm trying to get out the hood. Anyway, if you have been a victim of domestic violence or know someone who has or has any input on the topic, you can call us at 631-451-1039.
And we're not looking to identify anybody or blow you up or spot or whatever the case may be. We just want some
Right. You could tell us it was your friend Sandy. It could have been you. Just tell us it was somebody else. We just really want to get into it from somebody that got experience because there's a lot of people going through this, and there's a lot of people who probably don't even know that they're going through it because they haven't identified it as their situation yet.
Yeah.
So we're going to try to bring it to the light. So if you are experiencing these things, because me personally, I just really want everybody to be okay. I want everybody to be doing good. That's really what I want for everybody. So let's identify the toxic behaviors
toxic
and things that are in our lives.
Pick out the signs of the toxic relationships, and no one is stuck. There's help out there. You know what? I just want to go back to we talked about socioeconomic backgrounds. Have a higher increase of domestic violence. It's not the poverty. It's that the poverty creates the stress.
Yeah,
of course. That has that person.
Of course, you always have 1,000 things on your mind, and out of 1,000 things, you may have resolution for 2 or 3 because the money won't allow you to resolve all the things that you're going through that might have money at the root of it. But I know that that's an attributing factor, the fact that people aren't doing well and they're frustrated with that. Like that's a frustration in itself, right? Like,
do you see a lot of frustration in the minority communities because you can't just quote unquote get out of the hood or they can't get away from the environment they were in? And that just creates an unloved,
I know that's what's going on, but in the hood, everybody pretending like they doing good. Like you don't
pretending though.
Yeah, you don't go on Facebook and people be like, "Oh, I'm doing terrible. $400 behind in my rent." Everybody go on Facebook and they lit. Listen, man, I be messed up sometimes, man. I be messed up. Just so y'all know, I want to say for the most part that my life don't involve as much struggle, but for anybody that's always on Facebook acting like Instagram or something like your life is always lit, I don't believe you.
I think we all know that that's not real life.
It can't be, bro.
Social media is not.
We got a caller. We got to take this caller.
Okay, we got a call. Hold on.
For the people on Facebook, we're gonna for the audio.
Go ahead.
Hello. Hi.
How you doing?
Who we have calling?
Yeah. I'm Wanda Williams.
How you doing?
Wanda, how are you? Welcome to Street Legal. It's Bob and co-host Link. What do you want to add to this conversation about domestic violence, Wanda, and how it had effects on the minority communities, or much higher rates of domestic violence in the minority communities?
Bob, I have 2 things to add. I myself was I had a case toward domestic violence, believe it or not.
I'm sorry to hear that.
You were a victim of domestic violence?
I've been a victim and I have done something.
Been on both sides of the coin.
Yeah. Well, nice, Wanda. Nice.
Wanda, I hope you gave him a good beating.
Hurt people.
But no, serious. Like as y'all seen lately, how a lot of men been killing girls for domestic violence, and I don't want none of my daughters growing up like that. Love just shouldn't hurt nobody. No.
Listen, no one condones any kind of violence towards a male or female to a male or children. No one condones any of that.
Right.
You shouldn't have to live like that.
Well,
no.
I think that if your self-esteem is so low that you'll tolerate certain things almost not knowing that you don't deserve that you deserve better than that, right? So the thinking or where a person stands at in their own self-esteem matters, because a person can't do that to you unless you allow them.
Let me throw this stat out to you. And on a typical day in the United States, they receive over 19,000 calls of domestic violence. 19,000 in a day. That just goes to show. And there's a lot unreported because a lot of people are afraid to call the cops, won't call the cops because they know that'll create more violence.
Ladies, you got to learn to shut your mouths. I'm just saying. Nah, but
no.
Nah. That's a lot of calls a day. 19,000. That's almost an unrealistic number. I can't imagine 19,000 people picking up a phone, and that's.
But there's probably another 19,000 that didn't pick up the phone.
Right.
This is Bob Macedonio. We are here at Street Legal every Thursday, 6 p.m. 103.9 LI News Radio. We'll be back in a few short minutes. My first name.
Thank you for calling.
Macedonio and Duncan, 126 Carlton Avenue, Islip Terrace. And remember, you want to stay free.
Call B.O.B.
Call B.O.B. We are back. This is Bob Macedonio. Welcome to Street Legal. Every Thursday night, 103.9 LI News Radio. Macedonio and Duncan, 126 Carlton Avenue Terrace, 631-582-3232 is my firm. And Link, we have a sensitive topic tonight. We're talking about, we thank Mrs. Williams for calling in and, sharing a little bit about her story. But, like we said, 19,000 calls a day. And that just doesn't even count for the calls that don't make it.
Right.
And then in a recent year, 10 million adults experienced some type of domestic violence. 10 million in the United States.
In a year, you said?
1 year.
And in that same year,
in the United States,
there was only 19,000 reported? Or 19?
No. 19,000 calls per day.
Jesus.
A typical day, domestic violence hotlines receive approximately 19,000 calls.
And that's so. I got to do that 19,000 times 365 to see how many are unreported.
Yeah, that's the thing we don't know.
Yeah.
And it's just, it has such an impact on society that people don't even realize, because how many of those domestic violence victims then can't go to work the next day? Kids don't go to school.
Right.
Or, the husband's in jail.
Even like as a kid who grew up in a house where, let's say my dad was a little aggressive. You hear a loud noise or a thump, the first thing you think in your mind is like, is mommy okay?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of trauma attached to it. It's an anxiety that lives inside of you constant. You don't know how far an argument might escalate. You know what I mean? So you almost don't want to go to school if they're arguing. You know what I'm saying? Because you're like, you want to be here to protect your mom.
Protect your mom.
So it's I think that it's a big factor, and it's a thing that has lingering effects. It does, because seeing it, growing up inside of it, will normalize it for you to the point where you have to catch yourself in it and be like, no, this is not what I'm going to, take into my life with me. But I think that people who find themselves victims of it almost don't know how to get out of it. There's like, it's a secret. This is what I say about abusers. This is how you know if you're dealing with an abusive person, right? They try to isolate you.
Correct.
They try to take you away to where other people is not can interfere with what they're doing. You know what I mean? Or it won't be
break you down emotionally.
Right.
Break you down,
and they make you feel alone. And anybody who's doing that, believe me, they like either are in the process of doing it or about to start doing it. Because if you're with somebody, your partner, you really want to see them flourish. You want to see them with their friends. You want to, not friends that's like out to do them dirty and stuff like that. You want to definitely check it out, but you want them to be doing all the things they were doing their whole life. You come into somebody's life and all of a sudden 90% of the things they were doing, they're not doing no more. Something's up. You know what I mean? Something's like not right with that.
Well, it's actually good that, the court system is really recognizing this, because in the last 25, 30 years, they've been having more focus on domestic violence.
Yeah.
Suffolk County, as you aware, I practice out here. There are 2 courtrooms that are specifically set up just to handle domestic violence.
DV1, DV2.
DV1, DV2. and the DAs and the advocates that are in those parts, they're trained, to handle those cases, and they take certain classes, certain seminars, and to really notify the victims. But there are some that use the system incorrectly, because there are true victims out there that's taken away from them.
Yeah.
There are some people that use the system just to get back at their spouse, vice versa, get them out of the house.
I ain't gonna say no names, but you remember you had to get me out of one of them. Like, I basically had to negotiate just to get them to admit that they was telling a lie, like doing me dirty. But also, I ain't gonna put nobody else's name out there. My God, he's doing a lot of positive things out there in Wilderness right now too. He got falsely accused. You saved him. You can't put his name out there, but you saved him too.
Because there's a lot of emotion involved in reporting those incidents. So a lot of times it's either going to be exaggerated or one reason or another why the report was made, and there's a lot of BS in a lot of the complaints. But there are also a lot of legitimate victims out there. So I want to identify that.
I seen girls who maybe went through because girls become a little bit hardened from that. Even you heard Wanda, she was like, first she was a victim and then she made somebody else her victim. So you get a little hardened by dealing with that. But I've seen women who used to get beat up by their boyfriend, and somehow, they managed to turn the table, like to the point where if he even leave out the house, they call police and say he did something to him. Like, I wish you would touch that door. You better sit down. I got that order of protection. You're not even supposed to be here, and it's crazy. So they
that's the other part.
weaponize
Order
it.
of protections are issued like Tic Tacs. Judges They routinely issue them. The DAs ask for them on a lot of the cases because they're afraid not to get them. But
right. And once they get weaponized, it's like, it's over. It's over.
That's correct.
And I remember I was asking, I was like, yo, what are my alternatives? You was like, you don't have many. It's like a waiting game to make sure you just stay completely away from the person. So I was like, guys, if you have a domestic violence case against you or order protection because of a domestic violence, you respect the order of protection because...
Respect the order of protection, follow the law, don't take it into your own hands. And, get good counsel, get good lawyer, and, get yourself into therapy. There's a reason why the situation brought it to the courts.
Right.
And that's what you have to figure out.
If you do have a problem with keeping your hands to yourself, I do suggest therapy because, Dr. Thomas Ryer, he's a very easy person to talk to. That's Ryer, Thomas Ryer. He's in case you want to look him up, he's a great doctor. He's got an office in Mastic too. So
very well respected. But going back to how domestic violence in the minority communities is their racism and stereotypes also play a part in reporting it in those communities.
No,
because of the distrust of the police.
For that part, yeah. I think that reporting it in its totality is just completely humiliating on the face of it, right? Like, you got to have cops outside your house. In most cases, when I've seen stuff like that, like growing up, you see police coming to get a dude who was just being violent with his girl. She coming out of the house yelling, nightgown on, looking wild, screaming, "Oh, I hope they kill you in jail," like all that crazy stuff. So I think that, I don't know, just get help if you got a problem with it. If you assume that you might be out of control, you should go sit down and talk to somebody, because if you hurt somebody and you're not that kind of a person, you're going to find it very hard to live with.
Here's a statistic that, racism does play a part in the stereotypes, because, black women are more likely to get arrested for defending themselves against an abusive partner than a white woman.
Explain that.
Well, a woman calls the cops. She's defending herself against the abuser.
Right.
She's more likely to get arrested for any kind of injury or anything that she did to her abuser than a white woman.
Oh yeah. Oh, you know what?
What I'm saying?
You know how I know that's true? I was watching a segment of something. It was real though. It was like not a movie, where this white girl, she's young, vibrant, rich, right? Was dating this black dude. He was like, not of equal stature, but he was doing good. And she used to abuse him a lot, like all her friends. There was like cases of like, not reported by him, but like as witnesses, they would like came up after, because she killed him. Mm-hmm. She like kept abusing him until she like finally killed him. And police didn't arrest her right away. No. They like took her down there, did some questioning. It was like a whole crazy story. I don't remember.
That's a black woman. She's going to jail.
She was. If she was a black woman, she'd have been. She would have never even. Yeah, from the cop car, she was just going to jail. I just thought that was crazy. They eventually came back and locked up and did all the things, because like the family was protesting. It went crazy. They tried to make him out to be abusive, and he had never had a complaint against him ever from anybody in the world. And like all her friends was like, nah, he was the greatest guy in the world. Like, you know what you did. A
lot of it goes unreported because of the embarrassment that it brings.
That's what I was saying. It's a humiliating situation.
It's the same thing with sexual abuse on children. Yeah. A lot of that goes in families, doesn't get reported because of the stigma and the embarrassment it brings to the family. Which
you take away from the value of the child. Like if a child is molested in the family and all you do is beat the uncle up and keep him away, there's almost still no value for the child. I would like for the child to know, like, and I don't wish jail on nobody, but, for me, that's a special kind of person
special kind
who
of jail
can do
for
that
those
to
people.
a child. So, not that I wish jail on them, but I want them out of any society that I would be in. You know what I mean? Again, jail was a terrible place, but certain people don't belong with us either, and that's some of the people.
Link, another quick stat I'll throw out to you. Research suggests that 25% of the population experiences some type of domestic violence, yet only 5 to 15% actually report it. So that's why I say the numbers are low, even though we're getting 10 million cases a year.
What was those numbers again?
Research suggests that 25% of the population experience some type of domestic violence, but only about 5 to 15% of those cases, the abuse gets reported. So there are a lot of victims out there that aren't getting reported.
That's a low report rate too.
This is Street Legal. We're here every Thursday night, 103.9 LI News Radio. Bob Macedonio. My firm name, Macedonio & Duncan, 126 Carlton Avenue, Islip Terrace. We'll be back in a few short minutes. 631-582-3232. Remember, you want to stay free.
Call BOB.
We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is Bob Macedonio. We're here with Street Legal every Thursday night, 6 p.m., 103.9 LI News Radio. And I'm here with Link. And we're touching on a sensitive topic, domestic violence. And it just has such a great impact on our society. Like I said, Link, 10 million adults experience domestic violence annually. And even the unreported cases, it has such a, psychological, emotional effect on families, on children. It's devastating to our communities. It really is.
It's more of a sensitive subject for me because I've seen myself be the perpetrator of it. So it's not hard for me to discuss it, but because I can relate, not to the point where just to be completely abusive, but I have gotten so mad that my hands have left my body before. So I think that we got a caller.
We have a caller?
Yeah,
Let me pick up this caller with her.
Yeah. Hey, what's up, y'all? What's going on, man?
What's going on,
who
man?
do we have on? Is it Street Legal? We're here with Bob and Link.
Yeah, this big, man. Big the barber, man, from Maryland, man.
Yeah, what's going on, man? I'm glad you called up here. Good to hear your voice.
What do we got? What do you want to add to our little show tonight about domestic violence?
Man, I just tell you, man, I've been in situations, but I just walk away. I don't care what they do.
The smartest thing you could do is walk away.
The smartest thing you could do is walk away.
The smartest thing you could do.
I be itching to go.
Go further, right?
I think about jail, man. I can't get no money in jail, so I let them live.
Yeah, just
that's the truth.
Take
Can't
a
make
walk,
no money
take a
in
deep
jail.
breath, take a walk around the block, whatever you got. Take a ride to the store, whatever you got to do. There's no reason to be putting your hands on anybody. And even not only the physical, but the mental and emotional is probably more prevalent than the actual physical. And that has devastating effects on families.
It's the traces that's left. Not to mention the guilt you feel as a person who did something like that, right? So you got to walk around looking at the person you did this to. You got to know that you damaged them in a way that makes them not trust you to a certain extent. And
you need to just counsel yourself out of the situation. Yeah. For real.
If you walk away, you really spare yourself all of those different negative things. Mostly when you mad, the difficulty involved in walking away is pride. It's not something else. It's that I think in your mind you can't believe. From my experience, you can't believe that somebody who know you this well would try to play you this way. And so you almost like go into like a mold like where you see them as opposition is nothing like that. Clearly nothing like that. But that's the kind of mode you go into with that. But like you're saying, though, walking away is the best thing. Best alternative.
But even it starts before that, because the physical is actually like the last resort. Usually a person that's of that has like emotionally or psychologically try to break down their intimate partner. And this isn't male on female, female on male. It could be male on male, whatever your relationships are.
Right.
I'm not. We're not here to discriminate against any of them. I mean, we know that we care, but you got to get yourself some help. You can't.
I'm not like the people we talking about, but I also want people to know, like, it's if you are the type of person who gets angry and you strike out, it still is a good idea to take a look at yourself, assess, and see maybe if you want to talk to somebody, right? Because
you definitely need to go find some help.
That
issue is really bigger than what you think it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a fact. And it
might have been because of your father, or your mother was beating your father, or your father was beating your mother.
Because it's been acceptable, and when you're growing up, you saw it. Because it has such a, it increases the rates of depression, increases suicidal behavior when you break down someone emotionally like that. It doesn't have to be the beating or the broken arm, but mental and emotional abuse sometimes is worse than the physical. Yeah. And the other part of it,
it really starts with with the words. You know what I'm saying? For real.
But the words have a more lasting effect than anything you can do physically.
And not to put it on an economic thing on it, but our country loses, and this is another stat, 8 million days of work per year, paid work days a year, because of domestic violence. So you take all the cases in the country.
Damn.
So that's equivalent to 32,000 full-time jobs. So 8 million days of paid work each year is lost because of some person is a victim of domestic violence, or the person's in jail, or whatever the case may be. That's
the longest person who lived in the world didn't live 8 million days. You're missing that many days.
Correct.
Just on like
each year.
Annually. That's crazy.
You spend a day in the courthouse, DV1, DV2. We're a small county, Suffolk County.
Thanks for calling, bro. I appreciate you.
Thanks. You appreciate the call.
Love y'all, man.
Love you too, man.
Spend a day in the courthouse there. The domestic violence parts are generally the busiest parts in the courthouse.
Damn.
And that doesn't even take into effect down the hallway to family court when they could choose to go, whether you want to go a civil may on an old docket, which is getting order of protection and handle it over there, or press the criminal charges. So that courthouse each day with those people there, you have the victim, you have the defendant or the respondent missing work, missing school. It's pulling out of our economy. They estimate anywhere between $5.8 and $12 billion annually is sucked out of our economy because of domestic violence.
That's probably the largest financial number I've heard from anything that we're going through.
That's more than DWIs. That's more than drug dealing.
Yeah,
that's more than
a large number right there. That's a huge number.
And then a good percentage of the victims of domestic violence lose their jobs because of the domestic violence.
Right.
Your boss don't want your ex coming up there, or your this happening. I can't deal with I can't take this anymore. Take your problems elsewhere.
Too much of a distraction. Yeah. And I think
and in a short. We go 2003 to 2008, 5-year period, 142 women were murdered in the workplace by domestic violence, by intimate partners.
How many women?
142. Murdered in the workplace. So that amounts to 22.
Their partner came to their job and killed them?
Came to their job and killed them. That counts for 22% of the workplace homicides.
Wow.
So almost 25% of your workplace homicides are a domestic partner coming up and murdering
at your job.
At the job.
That's crazy.
So that's why the employers don't want to deal with it. That's horrendous.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to deal with that in my place of business. You can't be arguing, yelling.
How many times you hear, oh, he keeps calling my job, she keeps calling my job.
They're gonna get me fired. They're gonna get me fired.
They're gonna get me fired.
Yeah, my boss keep telling me stop telling them to call. That's another form of that
psychological and mental abuse.
It's abuse. It's abusive. Like no matter where you go, what you're doing, you can't get away from what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like so that's another form of it. Like if you weren't trying to be abusive, if you was trying to work something out with somebody who you frustrated to that point, you wouldn't call them. You would just text them, right? Correct. Allow them the option to text you back instead of like pushing for them to do that. But again, I don't have any love.
The point of this show is if you have some issues, you feel yourself getting frustrated, whether you're the victim or the perpetrator or the defendant, whatever it may be, get some help. There's help out there. The good people can be put in situations where they snap a little bit. So get yourself some help.
Which programs have you seen? You know how like they got drug court in case you're like well,
they have anger management programs.
I'm talking about for like the victims, like something that
there are many victims programs. There's counseling out there. There's groups out there that advocates that work with the victims to build their self-esteem back, because the biggest part of it is breaking down the person's self-esteem. That's the biggest part of it.
Having them feel they deserve that.
And then, like, what that does, it increases the rate of depression. Mm-hmm. Okay, when you feel you're worthless, when you feel you can get beaten every day, emotionally, physically, your self-esteem goes down.
Yeah.
Depression sets in. And then what happens to that? Suicide rate goes up.
A lot of girls, too, like I've seen in my life where, their friends will tell them, oh, if you don't get away from him, we just gonna start staying away from you because we can't take it. He gonna kill you one day.
Nobody wants to be around that.
It's the most uncomfortable thing you could be around because it's the most helpless feeling you could ever have, seeing two people go through a situation. But I've seen that. So,
we've all been out with couples and they're arguing at different times. It makes the whole table uncomfortable.
Tense.
It makes the whole environment. You've been at a party and your friend's fighting with his wife or the wife's fighting with him. You don't want to be around them.
Right.
People want to socialize. They want to be around situations that are comfortable, happy, friendly.
Yeah, you want to have fun. You want to like sip wine and eat steak and tell jokes.
Like, how many times you see in the courthouse it breaks out right in the hallway?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's a fact. And anybody who's ever been to court has seen that before. Like, people that's before it gets to that, what do you call it, that protection order move. Because you can't do that once that happens. Once they put that protection order in place, you can't have no conversations at all. And that was the worst part, I think, of what I had went through when I was with you. Like, the fact that, one, I hadn't done anything that I was being accused of, and two, they kept using that order of protection to lock me up. No matter, I could have been in Madison Square Garden.
See, my opinion, and we're going to end the show in a few minutes, is that there really needs to be a better screening process before the order of protection is issued. The order of protections are issued routinely with not a lot of investigation.
They say in Suffolk County you can indict a ham sandwich, so I'm sure you can get order of protection.
You can get order of protection on a statement.
Than that.
This is Street Legal. We're here every Thursday, 103.9 LI News Radio. I'm Bob Macedonio. My firm name, Macedonio and Duncan. We're located at 126 Carlton Avenue, Islip Terrace.
631-582-8282. 3232.
And remember,
you want to stay free,
call B.O.B. And then even in domestic violence, you want to get free, you call B.O.B.
Right.
Okay.
If you call a D-Weed or call George, same office.
Thank you.
Peace.